Alright guys, we're going to be replacing our brake pads on our e-bike. I've got a Jasion EB7 2.0, ST 2.0. And I picked these up on Amazon, Corky cycles, about 11 bucks for the pair, for the front and the back. And there's your new pad. It's held on with a tie. We'll be snipping that off once we get the other one out. And all we're going to need for this is a snippers for the tie, 5mm, and a needle nose for the cotter pin. So I ended up flipping the bike upside down. I did the front going with it standing. And this you can do without removing the tire, but I made the mistake on the front of removing this bolt and this bolt, which basically got the caliper off. But what we want to do is remove these two bolts. That way the whole thing will drop down. So what we're going to do is I backed off the inside pad, which is a stationary pad. You can adjust that, through the spokes. And what I did was loosen that up so you can see the daylight through there. But it should be just a matter of loosening these bolts. And you may have to go a little bit hard on it because it's probably being held on with Loctite. See that blue stuff in there? That's the Loctite. Got that one off. And we'll get this one off. And I'm wearing gloves because it's pretty grimy. Alright, so now what we're going to do is the caliper should drop right out of there. And you can see it's pretty grimy. But what we did earlier when this was on here is loosen this bolt through the spokes. I backed it off probably about 6 turns, but it turns pretty easy to adjust later. Just to give it some room to get out of there. So you can just drop it out like that. Our next step is this brake pad is held on with the cotter pin you see there. And what we want to do is take our needle nose and straighten that out so we can get that cotter pin to go through the hole. So it's just a matter of bending it to the right. Angle you down just a little bit, I think. And they give you another one, so if you break this one or get it out of the way, it's no big deal. In fact, that's what I did with the other one, was replace it. But once you get it straight, it should pop, right out. And now this should be a matter of just pushing this whole tab through, and it should come out the other side here. And there you go. Now these pads are got 2,400 miles on them, so they're held on with that retainer clip. But you can tell that one's wearing down pretty good. It's been basically metal on metal. See a little scratch in there. So once we get that off, set that off to the side. We'll take our new one and it's being held on with a temporary zip tie. And we'll just take our snips, just hold it together so it doesn't spring off on you, and take that off. Now what we want to do is just reverse the procedure, feed that through so it ends up going through there, and we'll put the new cotter pin through. You just have to play it by ear to see where it lines up there, but once it's in there, it's spread out already, so it's not going to drop out. And what you're going to do is take your new cotter pin, feed it from the outside of the caliper to the inside where it's going to be lined up, and just feed it through. You see one cotter pin wing is a little bit longer than the other. That's the one you want to bend back. So take your needle nose, grab it, and give it a bend. And since this one seems a little longer, I'm going to bend this other one back also, just so it doesn't have a tendency to hit a spoke. But that's what you want to do there. Now, what we're going to end up doing is this is going to go back in this position again, and we're going to feed it through there, and we'll use one of our bolts to get started here. Just get it finger tight just so it grabs that, and then we'll get our other one. See if we got it lined up right. I think so. And once it's lined up again, get them both in there. And we're just going to give it a little bit of a crank on it. Now, we've got the wheel spinning fairly good, but we're gonna push that inside pad just so it's barely touching. So what we did before is we snuck it through. And I can't really give you a good view of this, but I can line it up or see the air gap, and it's not that much. I mean, it's and here, you may have to do a couple adjustments on it. I really should get a cap for that, but I'm planning on upgrading eventually to maybe hydraulic brakes. But I see it's spinning pretty good, and then you may have to do a couple adjustments on it, but if nothing else, it should be good to go. Alright guys, that's going to wrap this one up. We'll catch you next time. Adios.